Hi, I'm Kathy Callahan-Brady, and welcome to In the Trenches. Today I'm pretty excited because we're going to introduce and talk a little bit to Tim McShea from McShea Properties. So hi, and welcome, and thank you for coming. I so appreciate it.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Well, part of why we do this is because we've got 107 volunteers for FITSE, so I'm pretty blessed with that. And you're one of our advisors, and so thank you so much. I know you're busy, and so coming out at 7:30 in the morning, yeah, very early.
I really enjoy it.
Yeah.
So,
well, the advice that
great to
you've
see you.
given over the years has really been phenomenal, so we really appreciate that. But tell us a little bit about you and your business and what you do.
So I'm in the commercial real estate business. So we started in 1983, and what we started as was an acquisition development business where we would buy and either renovate or develop ground-up properties. It ranges from office to apartments to industrial, retail, et cetera. We then morphed into more of a full-service business where we did management, leasing, investment sales, construction management. We built that business up, and by 2013, we had about 150 people. And we sold the service side of the business. Variety of reasons, the time was right. It was so we sold to a national company. And so the business that we sold was the one that provided the services, the management, leasing, construction management. But what we kept was the principal side of the business, which we had always done, where we acquire and renovate and develop buildings. So that's what my focus is right now.
Oh, very nice. So what inspired you to start this business?
When my father did, and so when I was 10 years old, my father started his first business. He was 39 years old. And he was the classic entrepreneur, started with no money, and everyone told him he was crazy and all those kinds of things.
They
And
always hear that.
yeah. And he kept his other job for 5 years. And he didn't go to his company full time until they had about 40 employees. But and so growing up, what I heard from him was his only regret was he waited till he was 39. And so he was a big proponent of that, which he told everybody that would listen to him. But I listened. I was totally enthralled by it. And so by the time I was 17, I was totally obsessed with it, that's what I was going to do.
Oh, that's really exciting. So was there ever a time that you were maybe worried about the business or some failures potentially that could happen? I mean, this is in the trenches, so we like to get into some of those fun sort of stories that entrepreneurs worry about.
So sort of an aside to that is every entrepreneur, and if they don't say this, I think they may be either lucky or maybe not telling the whole truth, but feels like they're 6 months away from disaster. So especially when you're starting out. And so with my wife, I would tell her, if we can just get through the next 6 months, if we can just get through the next 6 months. And after about 10 years, she said, I get it. So you don't have to say it anymore. But I always felt that way. So we started in 1983. And in 1989, the S&L crisis hit. So we'd grown from, and I had partners, we'd grown from one person to maybe 30 or something like that. And the world as we knew it had come to an end. And everyone I knew was in financial problems, going under, whatever. I didn't sleep through the night for 5 years. And I know that because I know the day that it started, I know the day that it stopped. So during that period of time, you couldn't, for us, and the interesting thing is it really didn't, it was a lot of events that were happening beyond our control that didn't have to do how we were doing the business. And I'm sure there's some of the things that we should have done better or whatever, but it really had to do with this banking crisis. And so about 3 or 4 years into it, I spent about 5 years. I didn't think we would make it. I wasn't sure of a clear path that we would make it. And so the best advice I got was I was trying to come up with a solution in my head that sort of mapped out our path to success. And you just couldn't do it. And so I went back to my mentor, who was my father, and I explained this to him and said, I just can't figure it out, and we can't come up with a plan. And we'd run numbers and all this kind of stuff. And so he gave me the best advice that I ever got. He said two things. He said, Tim, all I know is that things change, and when they change fast. So that gave me hope, even though I didn't know where it was going to come from. But the second thing is, because I couldn't come up with a big plan, he said, my advice to you is get through the next 30 days. And then after that, get through the next 30 days. So what it did, it became, instead of some big grand solution, it became, I can get through the next 30 days, you know, and then that went on and on and on. And after 5 years or so, you know, we were out of it. And so people ask me now, how did you get through that period of time? And to be honest, I'm not really sure.
Yeah.
We just did.
Yeah. You keep getting up, going into work.
You wake up at 3 in the morning, you can't sleep, you're worried. And and this is a great thing about being an entrepreneur, good or bad. You get up at 6 o'clock in the morning, the sun comes up, you're ready to go.
Yeah.
So.
Wow, what a story. It gave me goosebumps. You know, a couple of different things that you said that really makes me think about it too is, you know, some of the, when we're talking to the entrepreneurs, we ask them about home life too, because a lot of it has to do with if you don't have that supportive spouse behind you cheering you on, it is even more difficult. And so it sounds like you actually had a very supportive wife and a support system.
Yeah,
father.
I think if you're going to get involved with this, it is having the right people. Whether the most important decisions I think you make are who's your spouse and who are your partners, because it's, you know, as we all know, if people can relate to just normal life, it's not easy. Yeah. And so you really, really need that.
Boy,
so,
that's for sure.
Yeah.
Wow. So it's a second generation business.
No, it's first generation.
Is it? Okay.
So yeah, he had started a company which is called Lang Telephone, which he had sold, and so this is a first generation business.
I missed that.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, thank you for everything that you do, and you've been in Frederick, I think, for a while too, because it seems like you, from everything I've learned about you, you do so much for Frederick, not just for Fitzy. So.
Yes. So my wife and I, we in a family, we love Frederick. So I grew up in Montgomery County, started the business in Montgomery County. But we moved here 29 years ago, actually, this week. And I remember that because that was the week that my oldest child was born. So
very nice.
timing wasn't perfect to be moving and for her to be born at the same time. So I don't know how we planned that. But and so this is where we raised our families. And so while the work that we have done is in the region, Northern Virginia, Montgomery County, we've done work, Columbia, other places, Hagerstown, but a large portion of it has been in Frederick. We started, the first building we developed on Thomas Johnson Drive was in, I think, 1986.
Wow.
So we've been here a long time.
Yeah, exciting.
Yeah.
Well, thank you again for your advice. Do you want to leave the business owners or entrepreneurs with any piece of, I mean, you've given so much as it is, but anything?
I would say two things that, and I'll speak maybe first to the people who are thinking about starting a business, is that I think one of the most important things, you want to have, again, in your mind, a plan to sort of a roadmap. And I guess what I learned is that at some point, you can't have a roadmap for everything that's going to happen. So I'm not saying don't do your homework and don't be prepared and all those kinds of things. But I think the thing that stops people the most is that sort of that last 10%, they just don't get it. And so I guess my advice for the people who are thinking about it, at some point, you just have to commit.
Yeah, leap.
And for us, it was almost, we just said we were in business, you know, and we started looking for a 10 by 14 office space, and we had an answering machine. We had no clients. We had none of these other things, but that day was maybe the biggest day of my career. We were in business. So I would say that. I would say that the second thing that I would say is as you start and once you get into it, that I found is people you're not going to have all the answers, and you're not expected. No one expects that. So you got to sort of put your ego aside and just be realistic about it. And what I have found is that people are incredibly kind with their willingness to help. And so seek that out. And sometimes you hear things that maybe make you a little bit uncomfortable. That's good. And you know, I've had people actually formalize it into an advisory committee or whatever. But I talk to people all the time about what I'm thinking, and I never walk away thinking. And even if it's an issue that I have thought this through and through, I really understand it. And I'll talk to somebody and I'll walk away and say, man, that was really worth it. I picked up something that's going to help me. You're not, and I guess my point is, you're not in it alone.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Wow, that's really great. And you know, we've kind of proven it here in FTSE too.
Absolutely.
In terms of people wanting to help with so many different individuals like yourself that have so much to give, and here they volunteer their time to help the other startups and stuff. So yeah, we've proven it.
That's right.
And surrounding yourself with good people is everything. So I feel really blessed that our entrepreneurs here at FTSE are surrounded by phenomenal people. So thank you again.
Right.
And thank you guys for listening. This is In the Trenches, and stop by FTSE.org to see the rest of them, so you can see the rest of our volunteers and the people that really are behind FTSE. Thanks. Have a great day.